Please stand. Almighty God, we pray for your blessing upon this council, help and prosper its work for the advancement and benefit of its people, so that peace and happiness, unity and justice may be established amongst us all. Amen. Please be seated. Manningham Council acknowledges the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people as the traditional owners of lands and waterways, now known as Manningham. Council pays respects to elders past, present and emerging, and values the ongoing contribution to enrich and appreciate the cultural heritage of Manningham. Council acknowledges and respects Australia's First Peoples as traditional owners of lands and waterways across country and encourages reconciliation between all. Manningham Council also values the contribution made to Manningham over the years by people of diverse backgrounds and cultures. I welcome all members of the public who have joined us in person and online to observe tonight's proceedings. I would like to advise that tonight's meeting is being video and audio recorded. All care will be taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, your presence may be recorded. By remaining in the gallery, it is assumed your consent is given in the event that your voice and or image is broadcast by Council. Council meetings are conducted in accordance with our governance rules. I will introduce each item of business as listed on the agenda, calling it by number and by reading the title. I will then call for a mover and a seconder of a motion and the item before opening any debate. Only councillors are able to join in the debate on any item. Councillors may adopt the officer's recommendation in the report or propose amendments and supplementary motions. I would like to draw your attention to item 7 on tonight's agenda, public question time, which provides people an opportunity to ask questions of the council. Questions must be registered prior to the commencement of the meeting to be asked. If we do not have the information at hand to provide a meaningful response, the question will or may be taken on notice and a response provided in writing. I will deal with a maximum of 2 questions per person and 2 questions on any one issue. If you have more than 2 questions, please submit these additional questions in writing to Council through normal channels. Item number 2, apologies and requests for leave of absence. There are no apologies. Item number 3, prior notification of conflict of interest. No prior notifications of conflict of interest have been received. Councillors, would anyone like to give a notice of a conflict of interest? There are none. Item number 4, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lightbody.
I move that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 23rd of August 2022 and the council meeting held on the 13th of September 2022 be confirmed.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor De Monte. Councillor Lightbody. De Monte. We'll put that to a vote. Those in favour? Unanimously carried. Item number 5, motion of condolence, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Councillor Carly Lang.
I move that Council place on record its sincere condolences for the passing of Her Majesty the Queen II, who died on Thursday the 8th of September 2022. Her Majesty will be remembered as an inspired leader who personified dignity and decency in the life that she dedicated to public service. Council also extends its condolences to His Majesty the King Charles III, the royal family and the Manningham residents mourning the loss of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor De Monte. Councillor Lang, would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
Councillor De Monte, would you like to speak?
So just quickly, Madam Mayor, I was read a quote, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen this quote on social media, where when Queen Elizabeth II was 21, she was speaking from Cape Town to the people of what is now the Commonwealth and said, "I declare before all of you that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong." And I, as an elected leader, Queen Elizabeth II provided a remarkable legacy as a leader in the public spotlight. And for myself, as an elected leader of albeit only 10,000 residents, I think she is a great example of dedicating her life, as she said, to the people and to public service, and it's a good example for myself and I think for others to follow. So may she rest in peace.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers? Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much, and I stand to pay my respects to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth for all the work that she'd done over those many years. Covered just by Councillor Diamanti was the topic of a duty, and I think her reign really did suggest that unwavering duty consistently for a whole life, right up until her death. I admire that duty and carrying it out in such a respectful way, and it was because of her unwavering consistency and duty that people of the Commonwealth and everywhere truly love their Queen, and they are very sad. Everyone is sad of her passing. It's interesting, you know, in my life, she has been a constant. She is a reference point for me because she's stayed the same, but everything else has changed over my lifetime. And it was interesting because about 5 years ago, I was at my Auntie Joyce Goff's 90th birthday party. And I did say to her, and she was really chuffed, and I said to her, "Auntie Joyce, you know, besides my sisters, you and the Queen have been my only constants that are still around as a reference point." And she was really chuffed by that. The fact is that by her stature, Queen Elizabeth's stature is so great, it commands respects from all people in all walks of life, from all nations of the world. And her presence in the world will be sorely missed.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers? So, councillors, I offer my sincere condolence to His Majesty King Charles III, the royal family and the residents mourning the loss of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. During this time of reflection, I share the grief felt by many in our community who have never experienced a world without Queen Elizabeth II's presence, a presence that will undoubtedly stay with us all throughout our lives. The Queen's strength and her compassion transcended geographic borders and languages and cultures in times of peace and in times of turmoil. Her Majesty was affectionately treasured and respected as a symbol of hope and endless possibilities, particularly for girls and women who she inspired by her historic reign. And she'll live forever on. On behalf of Manningham Council, I acknowledge His Majesty King Charles III, who has been proclaimed as the new Sovereign of Australia. I now invite you all to stand as we observe a minute's silence to remember Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, councillors. I'd like to have it noted on the council record that councillors stood to observe a minute's silence to reflect the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. Thank you. Item number 6, petitions. There are no petitions. Item number 7, public question time.
There are no questions, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 8, admission of urgent business. There are no items of urgent business. Item number 9, planning permit applications. There are no planning permit applications. Item number 10, city planning and community. Item 10.1, draft community local laws 2023. Do I have a mover? Councillor Chen.
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Lang. Councillor Chen?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Councils use local laws to respond to issues and community needs within a municipality. The law once passed have a 10-year life unless it is revoked sooner or renewed to remain valid. The current community local law adopted by Council in 2013 and is due to sunset on the 1st of July 2023. So it is time to review to ensure that local laws remain current and suitable for the purpose for which they were originally made. The draft includes removal of clauses that become redundant, such as garage sale, floodlighting, and horse microchipping. There are amendments to the existing clauses too. For example, the provision of overhanging vegetation in the current local law is now expanded to include anything overhanging the boundary of the land that obstructs the clear view of a pedestrian or the driver. There are also inclusion of new clauses to protect community amenity. For example, restriction on larger vehicles on residential land, protection against audible intruder alarms, and new shopping trolley provision. I would like to make special mention of the draft clause 25, condition of land and building, Madam Mayor. Since elected to council, I have received complaints about unsightly land and building. Unfortunately, the current law is arguably not broad or not clear enough to deal with all offenses. The clause is now strengthened and include definition of unsightly. This will assist law enforcement by providing clear guidance, avoiding ambiguity, and to better protect the community amenity. Authorized officers are able to exercise discretion contained in the draft local law and will have the power to issue a discretion requiring a person to stop offending and do anything necessary to rectify the offense. And of course, in any urgent circumstances arising under the local law, may take any reasonable action. The cost of penalties is calculated by multiplying the number of units set out in Schedule 3 to an individual or body corporate by the current value of the unit. The figure is indexed annually under the Victorian legislation. Currently, the value of the penalty unit is $184.92. If an offense for example, if an offense carries 2 penalty units, the total fine is about, which is rounded to the nearest dollar, is about $370. So a copy of the comprehensive proposed, the draft local law for the next 10 years is attached to the agenda. If approved by council, it will go up to public consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lang?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, what we are looking at tonight is putting our draft community local laws out on public exhibition. And that's for the community to be able to have their input and eyes over the document as well, because it is for them that this document is, or regulations are here. Council are within their right to place legislation controls that reflect the different circumstances and needs and environments of our municipality, and also for the matters that need more tighter or more firmer regulation. And that is all for our community. Councillor Chen went through a lot of the either proposed changes or new clauses, but I just want to raise the purpose of our local laws. You know, the document isn't just there for the sake of being there. It is really to encourage and promote community connectedness and belonging, to provide us with a safe, healthy and accessible municipality, and to improve the quality of our buildings, amenities and streetscapes. It's to protect and maintain and enhance our natural environment, which we are so lucky to have in Manningham. It's to encourage participation and involvement within our municipality that is respectful to the other people that live in it, as well as the surroundings. And it is to ensure protection of council assets and our sustainable resources. It really, this draft community law is about fostering vibrant and a prosperous municipality with the cultural heritage that we have here in Manningham. So with that, I really encourage the community to engage in this exhibition process. It will go out onto public exhibition. It will go through Your Say Manningham. It will be put in the Warrandyte Diary and in Manningham's newspaper, the Manningham Bulletin, or Nillumbik Bulletin. It will go through our advisory committees. There will be engagement by paper and online, and it will also go to our authorities, our Fire Rescue Victoria, Country Fire Authority, Victoria Police as well. So I really encourage and welcome involvement from our community on our community local laws, because that's what it's for. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Any speakers against? Any other speakers? Let's put that to a vote. Those in favour? Unanimously carried. Thank you. Item 11, City Services 11.1, Maintenance Responsibilities along arterial roads. Do I have a mover? Councillor Goff.
Madam Mayor, I move as on the paper.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Do I have a seconder?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lang. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise to actually support this motion here in its requesting the government to actually invest some money into its own roads. It's a shame that we have to come to that particular stage. It is with great regret that a number of weeks ago, a few months ago, I did raise the issue of the major arterial roads in Manningham and the disgraceful look that they have. There's been a bit of a clean-up since, but it's not really great. I think the community have noticed a great deterioration in our main roads, which are the state government roads, and the lack of funding for the maintenance of such roads. And indeed, council does spend $160,000 a year on state government roads just so that we aren't super embarrassed about the state of them. Overgrown median strips, potholes in major arterial roads, one of which has caused $2,000 damage to my tyres. There's been another thing is the deterioration of the roads through lack of maintenance by Vic Roads, or whoever the organisation is now of the state government. The lack of maintenance that allows weeds to grow between the concrete curb and the tarmac, the bitumen. Those weeds let water in, that water deteriorates the road. Now, council is responsible from what's on the other side of the curb. Curb to curb is the responsibility of the state government. They are not doing what they are supposed to be doing. They are not street sweeping. They are not cleaning out the drains. They are not maintaining the median strips. They are not fixing graffiti. They are not maintaining their infrastructure. Now, in 2003, I gave evidence at the Senate inquiry into cost shifting to local government. And at that stage, there are lots of issues. This was one of them. And it still continues, the major cost shifting from the state government of Victoria, abrogating this, taking no responsibility for what they are actually supposed to do, and put it on to the ratepayer of Manningham to pay that bill as well as paying everything else. We need, and this report outlines the responsibilities, a community, it's not just council, but our community needs to rally and speak up to the state government who is not maintaining our community infrastructure to the level of which we expect. You don't have to drive very far around Melbourne to see the disgraceful look of our major roads. It's quite an embarrassment.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would say that I'm pretty excited about this motion. We are regularly hearing from our residents requests about our arterial roads and maintenance works for a number of issues. Councillor Goff did go through them. It is fair to say that these requests are increasing recently, and the maintenance of our arterial roads is degrading considerably. If we go through some of the requests, and not limited to these, but potholes, graffiti, street sweeping, grass cutting, weeds, rubbish removal, drainage requests, etc., and just the general amenity. Indulge me while I exaggerate a little bit, but the Doncaster Road is like a thrill seeker's roller coaster, and Warrandyte Ringwood Road is like a death-defying pothole trip. And we regularly hear about these requests, safety concerns, increased maintenance on car concerns, people watching traffic, dodging these death-defying obstacles concerns while travelling. It is these requests that have sparked us to ask what is happening. And this paper gives us the opportunity to really look at who's responsible for what. And when we look at the overarching infrastructure and the guidelines that go into it, we look at the code of practice, which looks at making sure that who is responsible for what. For example, arterial roads that serve as a state-level function and benefit to users as such are to be maintained by the state government, and that is the Department of Transport. Footpaths along arterial roads do not serve as that state-level function or benefit, and therefore are generally maintained by local governments. I am really excited that as local governments, we are banding together to advocate for increased maintenance, repairs, and care of our arterial roads. And therefore, hopefully, we can make our municipality, as well as other local government municipalities, safe for our users, not entertainment trips for our users, and also well maintained, so that our amenity, both local and state government, are well looked after and safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers? Councillor Conlon.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to support Councillor Goff's and Councillor Lang's comments regarding this. This is our roads are in a terrible situation. and specifically the ones that are supposed to be maintained by the state government. I got an email just on Friday from a resident who's just fed up with the graffiti and the standards along the Eastern Freeway, and we haven't even mentioned that in this action. But it's just it's a sign of a lack of funding, a lack of priority from the state government into critical infrastructure, and it's disappointing that we have to, as a council, put our hands up and advocate for it. Like I don't know what the MPs, not just in this area, but MPs all over the place are doing in terms of making sure that the state government adequately funds what they are responsible for. So I support this wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers? Let's pop that to a vote. Those in favour? That's unanimously carried. Thank you, councillors. Item number 12, experience and capability. There are no experience and capability reports. Glad that I added the word reports in there. Item number 13, Chief Executive Officer. 13.1, draft freedom of the city policy. Do I have a mover?
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Seconder? Councillor Collins. Councillor Goff, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I won't be long on this one, but this is a draft freedom of the city policy. We've got a number of awards at Manningham that go out. We've got Citizen of the Year, but going up above all of those awards, we have three basic awards. We have a freeman or free woman of the city. We have the keys to the city. What's the third one? That is the third. A freedom of entry of the city, sorry. Yeah, freedom of entry of the city. And basically, this is putting it into one document and defining on how we come to make these awards. Now, these are specifically awards reserved for very few people. They're not an annual award. They're there for people that have done extraordinary things in the Manningham community, and it goes through a rigorous nomination process. And what our policy has done is outlined some of the things that are required, some of the things that we're looking at. So in other words, I can't get my wife to ring up and say I want something, you know, or somebody else just from the family ring up and do things. It's got to be a bit of a groundswell of actual effort. But that's in the details here. We've got a structure now in which we can review these things, because the structure really was just up to councillors at a time in the past, and so it was a bit unwieldy, and so this really puts a process and bounds around, and a process probably similar to Order of Australia and other sorts of things that are around. So I congratulate, thank you very much for the people that worked on this policy, and getting it down there for us to actually look at and approve here. And I think it is important that we do have, so when someone contacts or rings up about something, we do have something written down and a process to go with, which is really important.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Conlon.
Thank you. I support this policy. It is great that we've tightened it up and made it more clear about what the criteria is. I really like the fact that for the freeman or free woman of the city, that we're, specifying that it's on the basis of a largely voluntary capacity that qualifies people for that honour. And there's there's a number of key things in there that help nominees, the nominators, to understand what the expectations are. And I do like having the extra people having to support the nomination rather than just one person. And I endorse this wholeheartedly to my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers? Councillor Lang.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't going to speak, but I just wanted to quickly say I think it's really important that with these special honours, that they are something that it is truly honourable to have. and therefore the regulations that mean that there are a lot of support for the people who are nominated, I think makes that even more special. So thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Chen.
Thank you, Mayor. And I wholeheartedly support the policy because I think that to strive for a better society, we need to bring together people from all walks of life and who have the drive and the influence to make positive change. So, for example, the key of the city is awarded to acknowledge the contribution of an individual or group that have outstanding achievement, not only in one particular area, but in all their chosen fields. For example, humanitarian, community work, science, research, visual arts, performing arts, or sports. So that example gives the community and people some confidence that yes, I'm doing the science, I'm doing the music, I'm doing the arts, so I can perhaps just nominate someone or someone that I know very well that they are qualified to apply for that award. So again, I just want to echo Councillor Goff's previous said about thank you officers to draft and prepare this policy and just to include everything possible that make contribution to this community to apply. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other speakers? Let's put that to a vote. Those in favour? Unanimously carried. Thank you, councillors. 13.2, Appointment of Authorised Officers, Planning and Environment Act 1987. Mover, Councillor Laura Main.
I move that the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Seconder? Councillor... There was a few councillors opening. Okay, Councillor Lang. Councillor Laura Main.
Nothing to add.
Councillor Carly Lang. Just checking. Let's put that to a vote. Those in favour? Unanimously carried. Thank you, councillors. Item number 13, informal meeting of councillors. Mover? Councillor Conlon.
Thanks, Mum. I'd like to remove the recommendation be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor. Seconder? Councillor Laura Main. Councillor Conlon? Councillor Main? Let's put that to a vote. Those in favour? Unanimously carried. Item 13.4, documents for sealing. Councillor Conlon.
I'd like to move that the recommendation be adopted with the addition of the following agreements, and that is the lease, Council and Women's Health East Inc. Incorporated, Part High Mat Centre, 125 George Street, Doncaster East, and a consent to build over an easement, agreement under Section 173 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, Council and CM Hong and TKH Nguyen and LP Hong and J Moo of 23 Ashton Rise, Doncaster East.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lightbody. Okay, let's put that to a vote. Those in favour? Unanimously carried. Okay. Item 14, notice of motion. 14.1, notice of motion by Councillor Stephen Main, nom 5/2022.
I move that the motion, as it appears in the papers, be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Del Monte. Councillor Main, you have the floor.
Madam Mayor, I'd actually like to seek leave of the meeting to amend the notice of motion as included in the papers to read as follows. Quote, that Council authorises management to proceed with the proposed facility management and leisure services tender in October 2022 with the condition of the contract that if the successful tenderer currently directly holds poker machine licences, they must fully relinquish the licences before the conclusion of the first 5 years of the contract in June 2028.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Councillor De Monte, are you in agreement with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Variance is granted, Councillor. You may speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'd like to start by thanking the officers for tidying up the motion that was submitted on the papers. As councillors are aware, we're currently tendering both the Aquarina management contract and 9 highball facilities in one marquee contract. And what is proposed with this motion is that if any of the successful tenderers are currently owners of poker machine licences, that they are effectively given an incentive to exit the industry by a requirement of the contract that they have to have exited by the end of the first 5 years. Now, it's envisaged that the contract will be 5 years, then with options for further 5 years. And this effectively is saying anyone can tender, but if you do, hypothetically, Richmond Footy Club, which owns Align Leisure and also owns the One Turner Club pokies venue. Now, councillors are unaware of who's being invited to tender, but if hypothetically they were to tender, then that would be an incentive if they were to win the tender to exit their current poker machine venue. I just want to, there's a historical example of this happening in the past. I think when Collingwood Football Club went to City of Melbourne probably a decade ago and said, we'd like you to pay us $300,000 a year so that your leisure members can access the Lexus Centre. The council put a clause in the contract that said that we'll review this after 5 years with a view to whether you're still in the poker machine industry or not, as to whether we continue on for the second 5 years. And lo and behold, Collingwood decided to divest from their poker machines after a couple of years, and the contract went on for the full 10 years. We've seen a number of football clubs exit poker machines in recent years from Melbourne, Geelong, Western Bulldogs, and Collingwood. According to the front page of the Herald Sun, St Kilda's trying to get out. So the trend is on, and I think, frankly, that football clubs, contributing positively to society should not be in the poker machine industry. That's where it's going. And if there are any tenderers who want to come along and perform leisure services contracts for us, we're not saying you can't tender, but obviously we're putting an incentive in that down the track, to continue servicing us after the first 5 years, we'd like you to have exited or divested your interest in poker machines.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor De Monte.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make a point. The reason why I'm comfortable in seconding this alternate motion is it is in accordance with our council plan. We're under a healthy, resilient and safe community. We do say that we will pursue strategies to reduce the impact of gambling on the community, considering areas such as poker machines. So I do think, given that we're talking about a leisure services contract, and that does promote a healthy, resilient and safe community itself, that this extra move as a condition of contract, lining up with the end of the initial term, is consistent with our council plan.
Thank you, Councillor. Any speakers against? We'll put that to a vote. Speak for, Councillor.
Yeah, I'd like to just support the motion, and also thank Councillor Stephen Main for having the courage to put it up. And it's important that we're consistent, with our, as Councillor De Monte mentioned, with our healthy city objectives, and that we use these opportunities with tenders, major tenders, to further the cause of the community. So, thank you again, Councillor Main.
Any other speakers? Councillor Lang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very briefly, that I think the principle here is that we're after a leisure services provider that is really about the benefit of health and wellbeing for our community, and that's what this motion is about. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Any other speakers? Let's put that to a vote. Those in favour? Unanimously carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 15, urgent business. There are no items of urgent business. Item 16, councillor reports and question time. Councillors, does anyone wish to provide a report or raise a question? Well, Councillor Del Monte.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have two reports, please, councillors. So, Madam Mayor, last week I attended the final Livability, Innovation and Technology Committee, or the LIT. The first LIT committee was held on 24th of September 2019, so it's run for 3 years. And since its inception, I just thought it's really important that we've got these committees where we have these wonderful volunteers. I just think it's important to note some of the initiatives coming from these committees. So in 2020, the LIT provided oversight for the development of Smart City Opportunities project and producing a Smart City Opportunities paper and case study. And Manningham has begun embedding some of those opportunities, including smart sensor technology rollout at Jackson Court with parking, pedestrian and environmental sensors, which has produced a lot of rich data. There are other opportunities for those sensors. You'll say Manningham is also used extensively for public consultation in the digital democracy opportunity, and further smart assets and data opportunities are being considered. LIT was involved in the development of our Livable Cities strategy leading up to its adoption by the Council earlier this year. They provided feedback into strengthening the recognition of Manningham's cultural heritage, emphasising the importance of sustainability. They're also really supportive and keen to progress actions related to design excellence and setting up a design review panel in Manningham. And the design review panel is a key action in the first phase of the implementation of the Livable City strategy. They were intimately involved in the redevelopment of Manningham's public website. They were involved in a lot of ongoing testing feedback loops, 10 seconds. Draft climate action plan, citizen connect adoption of chatbot and chatbot. And I would sincerely like to thank the expertise and hours put in by Alex Young, Bob Sharon, Warren Burns, Christine Goramanis, James Poyner and John Thangaranja. We're very lucky to have such intelligent and passionate volunteers on our committee.
I allowed that,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
that final. Thank you.
So, do I need extra time for my second note?
No, it's councillor reports. Thank you, councillor. Councillor Lang.
Thank you. I just want to say it was
Turn your mic
wonderful.
on, please, councillor.
I just wanted to say it was wonderful to see most of you at the official opening of Wangoon Willem. Thank you to council officers for organising the event, organising the band, organising the many stages of the upgrade of the Wangoon Willem, and incorporating community feedback to then change designs as it went on to have open, flat space. I just wanted to say thank you to the local Cafe Now and Not Yet for coming as the coffee van, and to the Warrandyte Lions Club for the sausage sizzle, and to everybody involved in the whole community process. So from the very beginning, community groups were engaged with council. Council initiated that to work on the design and upgrade. In that, I spoke to representatives from those groups, and I got a question about a venue for the men's shed. So could the Director of Planning and Community please provide an update on the status and progression of the finding a permanent fit-for-purpose building for our Warrandyte men's shed? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Lang. Council officers are currently having initial discussions with the proponents of the Warrandyte men's shed. So the men's shed is currently located at the Warrandyte Scout Hall, and it's in a shared space with Scouts Victoria. The Warrandyte men's shed are seeking their own facility. So our staff are working with them to try and better understand their specific needs and to investigate some options for relocation. Councillors would be aware that there will be the community infrastructure plan coming to council shortly to seek your approval to put this document out on public exhibition. Part of the research we did around the community infrastructure plan was to have a look at the availability of space within Warrandyte for a group who seeks exclusive use of a space. What that's told us is that there isn't a ready-made solution. However, we are continuing to have discussions, and we may have identified a site adjacent to one council hall where we might be able to look at applying to the state government for funding for a shed arrangement. However, we still need to firm that up with the proponents of the Warrandyte men's shed, and we are committed to looking how we might be able to meet their needs, because we very much support the concept of men's sheds and the benefits that they bring to our community. It's also noted that Council is supporting the Warrandyte men's shed with a small grant to support 26 weeks of hire fees of the Warrandyte Scout Hall across this financial year. So officers are continuing to work with the group who's behind the men's shed, and once we progress those discussions, we'll be able to come back to Council with a more progressed solution.
Thank you very much. Any other councillors? Councillor Lightbody.
Yes, thank you. On behalf of the council and on behalf of Councillor Deirdre Diamante, whose report this originally was, I would like to let the council know that October 15th is International Pregnancy and Infancy Loss Remembrance Day, officially proclaimed so by the Australian Government early 2021. Pregnancy and infancy loss is an issue that impacts tens of thousands of Australians every year, and of course Manningham is not immune. International Pregnancy and Infancy Loss Remembrance Day is not a commercial day, and it's not used to raise money. It's a day of remembrance, a day to raise awareness and support for all those impacted by the death of a baby. Any loss is included, including early pregnancy loss, miscarriage, ectopic pregnancy, molar pregnancy, chemical pregnancy, stillbirth, neonatal death, SIDS, and accidental death. No matter the loss, it is a day to remember. The statistics are sad. In Australia, 282 women each day experience early pregnancy loss before 20 weeks of gestation, with 1 in 4 women under the age of 35 experiencing a miscarriage. By the age of 35, this increases to 1 in 3, while half of all pregnant women over 40 will lose their baby to a miscarriage. Additionally, 2,997 babies aged under 1 die in Australia each year from stillbirth, neonatal deaths, SIDS, and unexplained deaths in infants. One way to acknowledge those sad losses is buildings and landmarks across Australia being lit in pink and blue. Last year, there were 157 landmarks and buildings lit across Australia, including the MCG, Flinders Street Station, the Balti Bridge, Optus Stadium, Adelaide Oval, the Launceston Town Hall, Sydney Town Hall, and the International Convention Centre. The lighting of the buildings will form part of the International Wave of Light that occurs at 7 p.m. on the 15th of October, where families and friends light candles in memories of the precious babies. I often think these families and new parents must suffer in silence, and I hope that in the future Manningham Council can consider ways to light up its offices to let bereaved parents across our city know that they are not alone in grief. In the meantime, I make this statement to acknowledge their grief and loss. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Chen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following the release of Victoria's bus plan last year on 14th of September, the state government announced that Manningham is one of the first council areas to take part in the bus service review. As the only municipalities in metropolitan Melbourne that rely solely on buses for our public transport need, this is an encouraging news. May I say, Madam Mayor, that this is the result of Council's endless advocacy effort for better public transport for our community. Council has also I understand that Council has been sharing DOT's material on our social media channels. And I wish to encourage residents to complete the online survey at engage.vic.gov.au/bus reform and let the Department of Transport knows how we want our bus services to be improved. Last Tuesday, Eastern Transport Coalition met the Honourable Jacinta Allen, Minister for Transport Infrastructure, to advocate better transport for Melbourne's East. As Manningham's rep of the group, I brought Manningham's Transport Action Plan, which was adopted by Council in September last year, and Manningham's transport priorities to the Minister's attention. It was a positive meeting, and I hope that it will deliver good outcomes from this meeting in the very near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chen. Any other speakers? No further reports? Okay, item 17, confidential reports. Do I have a mover? Councillor Conlon?
I'd like to move that Council close the meeting to the public pursuant to sections 66(1) and 66(2)(a) of the Local Government Act 2020 to consider item 17.1, library future directions concerning private commercial information, section 3(1)(g) of the Act, being information provided by a business, commercial or financial undertaking that, if released, would unreasonably expose the business, commercial or financial undertaking to disadvantage. Additionally, section 3(1)(k) of the Act applies as this matter concerns the future management of library services and has industrial relations implications.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lang. Thank you. Put that to a vote. Those in favour? Unanimously carried. We will now be closing this meeting to members of the public and end the live stream to consider this confidential item. Thank you for joining the meeting and joining us this evening.